All right. I think we should be good there. All right, guys. So, hey, oh, did you just grab a folder in one of the containers? I left 2 sets there. All right, so happy Saturday. I think we're maybe just waiting on one person, but just about everybody here. I'm really excited to, actually, I'm just gonna turn down the heat so this doesn't start. You already turned it down? Thank you. All right, so I'm really excited to see a lot of new faces doing the nutrition challenge this time around. A lot of new people to the gym and a lot of people starting to, think about dialing their nutrition in to support their goals in and out of the gym. And I'm really happy about that because nutrition really is the foundation of fitness. If there's one thing I think we've really tried to drive home over the past year is how important it is to fuel yourself properly, not only to support you in what you're doing here, but also just so that you're feeling your best in everyday life. So welcome. I'm glad that you guys all took an hour out of your day to be here. You've probably gone through some of the materials in the folder. If anything is overwhelming you right now, don't stress about it. We're gonna go through everything. This is meant to just be really informative for you, okay? If at any point you're confused or something seems overwhelming, let me know. I don't want you to leave here today thinking that you've got to start Monday and with a complete overhaul in your nutrition. This is meant to be sustainable, okay? So let's get started. You guys don't have this exact PowerPoint. The handbook that you have has most of the bullet points that I'm going to go through and a lot of the info, but I will be sending this out or putting the link in the app, okay? All right. So motivation is what gets you started. Habit is what keeps you going. So you guys signed up for this challenge because you're motivated to improve your nutrition, right? So what tends to happen to motivation? It dwindles over time, and that's normal. That is normal human nature. Nobody wakes up every single day feeling 100% motivated to come to the 5 a.m. class or to meal prep or eat their vegetables. Some days, yeah, and that's awesome. But there are definitely those days where you're like, I don't really want to do this, but you're in the habit of going to 5 a.m. every day or getting out of work and going straight to the gym at 5:30 in the evening. So you keep doing it. It's the same idea when it comes to your nutrition. You've got to develop the habits that are going to keep you going and keep you sustained on the days that maybe you don't feel like sticking to the healthiest behaviors, okay? So today's agenda, we're going to talk about some tips to help you find success. We're going to talk about goal setting. We're going to review the foundations of nutrition. I'll talk you guys through how to use the meal plans over the next 4 weeks and steps after the challenge. And we're also going to talk about how we're going to pick a winner, okay? Might sound corny, but you're all going to be winners, really, because you're going to have these great habits in 4 weeks, okay? So expectations of the challenge. I put challenge in quotation marks. Yes, we do call it a nutrition challenge, but I'd really like you guys to think of this as a journey, okay? Thinking about the next 4 weeks as a challenge and just something you're trying to get through is going to set you up for failure. Like I said earlier, the point is to develop habits that are sustainable, right? So with that in mind, the next 4 weeks are really a journey. It's a launching point to help set you up for success moving forward, something for you to build on over the next several months to help you get to your goal. All right, we're gonna spend 28 days developing really great behaviors, creating an awesome routine for you in terms of your nutrition and meal prep, having fun and learning about basic nutrition education. Eating healthy can be fun, okay? It's not all restrictive. And just getting better each week. We're not looking for perfection. It's all about consistency. So just doing one thing better each week is gonna go a really long way over the course of several weeks, several months, and several years. So what happens after 28 days? You can graduate into ongoing coaching. So the reason I put this in here, 80% of people who see success in the setting of a nutrition challenge put whatever weight that they've lost back on and very quickly. And by quickly, I mean over the course of 4 weeks, okay? So why is that? It's because of the lack of accountability after the setting of a challenge, right? Over the next 4 weeks, you guys are amped, you want to win maybe. You're looking to just do anything that I'm instructing you to do, and then the challenge ends and maybe you go back to some of your old behaviors, right? So there are 2 routes you can take post-challenge. Option A, if you love the meal plans that you have and you're familiar with them, you're not really interested in weighing and measuring and you're just looking for continued accountability, you can go right into a wellness membership if that's something you're interested in. Option B, if you want more detail, if you want specific calorie and macronutrient goals, if you want more options for meals and snacks, if you want to learn how to design your own meal plan, but you still want that accountability, you would just go into our phase 1 nutrition coaching. We'll talk more about this stuff at the midway accountability check-in, but just something for you guys to start thinking about now. All right, what should you focus on? So we're going to talk about some of the basics when it comes to proper nutrition, okay? To begin with, are you consistently eating throughout the course of the day? Are you eating every 3 to 4 hours, okay? This is really important. You want to think about your metabolism as a fire. For some of you I've spoken with this about already. You want to throw a little bit of fuel into that fire all day long. You don't want to dump a whole bunch in the morning and then come back at like 6 p.m. when there's hardly any fire left and dump a whole bunch more back in. Because what happens? You've got a raging fire for like 25 minutes and then it dies out again, right? Your metabolism is exactly the same way. You want to throw a little bit of fuel in all day long, okay? Do you balance meals, every meal and snack with a source of protein, carbs, and fat? This is really important. You want to get a little bit of each macronutrient in with each of your meals and snacks. Why? We know that pairing your macros in this way supports your metabolic function, and it's going to keep you fuller longer and provide you the best source of energy, okay? Do you drink at least 80 ounces of water each day? This is something that some of us don't even really think about, so I encourage you to start keeping track of how much water that you're drinking and make sure that you're getting at least 80 ounces. Coffee does not count, caffeinated tea does not count. But water is vital to your metabolic functions. This is something easy that you can start implementing today, okay? Are you eating vegetables with lunch and dinner each day? Things like this often go overlooked when we think about nutrition. You know, we tend to think, what do I need to restrict? What do I need to get rid of in order to lose weight or, you know, look better? Let's start thinking about what we need to add in and how you can improve your meals to get those results, okay? Do you eat around your workouts? Are you having something before you come in first thing in the morning? Are you getting post-workout nutrition in? Are you eating out a lot? And if you are, what are you getting when you're at restaurants? Have you ever tracked your food through a food log or MyFitnessPal? That's something I'm going to encourage you to do over the course of the challenge. And do you focus more on quality or quantity of food? All right, we're going to look at all the pieces of the puzzle. So we're going to start with some goal setting, okay? So everywhere in your life you set goals to improve, right? Whether it's at work, at home, when you're in school. It's the same exact thing here in the gym. We encourage you to meet with our coaches to develop goals for your performance in the gym. I encourage you to make a goal as it relates to your nutrition. I encourage you to make a couple of goals, all right? I want you to think about a long-term goal, what you want to achieve 3, 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, and then break it down a little bit. What do you want to achieve over the course of the next 4 weeks? When thinking about your goal, you want it to be a SMART goal, okay? Something that is specific, measurable, attainable, reasonable, and time-oriented. Why do we make goals like this? Because if I just say, I want to lean out, how am I going to measure that? How am I going to know if I've found success? How am I going to know if I'm moving in the complete opposite direction? I won't. You know, that's kind of a cop-out to just say something really general like that. You should have a goal that's so specific that if you wrote it down and you dropped your piece of paper and somebody picked it up, they know exactly what you're doing and how you would know if you've met that goal, okay? So I encourage you guys to spend some time today, maybe during the snowstorm tomorrow. Think about your goal. Write it down. Writing your goal, seeing it there in black and white, gives it a little bit more of a stronghold in your life and holds you accountable to it. What does it mean to you? Why is it important to you? How are you going to feel when you achieve that goal? These are all things that you should give some thought as you're developing it. Setting smaller goals for what you're trying to accomplish is going to make it easier to hit the goal in the long run. So, for example, if I want to, I'm going to use a performance goal. If I really wanted to squat 2 times my body weight, and I know I'm far from that right now, okay, it's not reasonable that I'm going to do that in 4 weeks, but what can I do in 4 weeks that's going to get me to that goal? Just dial it back a little bit. See the baby steps that you need to take to get there. Setting performance goals are going to motivate you. So almost everyone here is a CrossFitter, right? how good does it feel when you PR something, right? Or when you did better than you did the last time, or you've gotten a new movement down. It feels awesome. So performance goals make you feel good when you achieve them. Create one, okay? Your nutrition is going to enhance your performance in the gym, whether you're trying to lean out or put on muscle. Good nutrition is going to make every single workout feel better. So I really encourage you to come up with a performance goal. All right. We talked about SMART goals already. There's a great example on here. By the end of the 28-day challenge, I will lose 1% body fat and 4 pounds of body weight. So this goal is specific, okay? What measure of data are we testing? Body fat and body weight. It's measurable. How much do I want to lose or gain? There's a way to test this, right? Attainable. I will accomplish this goal by the end of 28 days. Is it reasonable and realistic? Yeah, anywhere from 1 to 2 pounds a week, or about 1 to 2% body fat over the course of a month is a reasonable goal. If you have questions in regards to that, let me know. I can help you come up with something that's reasonable for you. And then time sensitive during the course of the challenge. You can see how having a goal like this is a little bit more meaningful than I just want to lean out, right? All right. So goals and actions plan. There's a spot in your workbook there for you to actually go ahead and create your goals, okay? After we get through all of the content today, spend some time, develop a goal, write down your action steps. You're gonna have loads of things to choose from as we go through all of this material, okay? I can give you a few to get you started because there are a couple of action steps that are gonna help all of us regardless of what your goal might be, okay? Number 1 is gonna be to log in MyFitnessPal every single day for the next 28 days. It is really a very valuable tool to put your food in your food log. Not from the perspective of what do I need to cut out, but to develop an awareness is, am I getting enough in? Sometimes we're really not eating enough, okay? This app is incredibly helpful in just helping to develop that awareness and help you to grow accustomed to how you need to put your meals together to get everything in that you need. Number 2, 80 ounces of water a day. I want every single person working on that goal. It's gonna be our main focus for the first week of the challenge. All right. Moving on here. So Nutrition 101, you guys can flip to the page on carbs in your workbook if you'd like. You can take notes if you'd like. A lot of it is in there. I am going to be posting this, so it's up to you. All right, so carbohydrates. These are your body's main source of energy, and they should make up about 40% of your diet, okay? So fiber. Fiber is a carbohydrate that helps you to stay full. It delays the glucose absorption. So what that means is it prevents the massive spike in insulin after eating. Why is this good? We don't want that massive spike in insulin, all right? We talk about glycemic index. The glycemic index, it tells you how fast your blood sugar is going to rise in response to the food that you're consuming, all right? This indicates the degree of the insulin response. Now keep in mind, an insulin response is an inflammatory response. So inflammation is bad, right? We don't want to put our bodies under any more stress. So if we're having a really high insulin response, that means high inflammation. So we want to stick to foods that have a lower glycemic index. Let's see. After exercise, this is the best time to have foods that have a higher glycemic index because that's when your body is going to utilize that energy. You want to try to avoid excess use of artificial sweeteners. Any sugar, whether it's artificial sweeteners or honey, agave, brown sugar, sugar in the raw, all of this has the same response in your body. Stevia is the most natural of the artificial sweeteners, so if you have to have something in your coffee, I would recommend using that, but you still want to use as little as possible of that stuff, okay? So again, it just says, what about the different types of sugar? If we don't burn sugar off right away, it's stored as fat. So that's why it's not a great idea to be eating high glycemic foods outside of the window of your workout. You're not going to utilize the sugar in Skittles, midday when you're not working out right then. It's going to be stored as fat. Going back to the artificial sweeteners, the studies have been done, and it actually shows that people who have a high consumption of artificial sweeteners, they tend to have a higher caloric intake, a higher carb intake, and more weight gain. Also, it's addicting. Even though it's not real sugar, it makes you crave more sugar. So, for example, if you've had the experience of drinking Diet Coke, people tend to drink a lot of it if they're Diet Coke drinkers. They're not like one cup every few weeks. Like they drink several cans a day. It's addicting. So something to keep in mind there, okay? Sources of carbohydrates. So if you open your folder, and some of you guys have already taken a look at that food options guide, I love this page. This is something great for you to go ahead and put on your refrigerator, keep handy in your kitchen. Carbs make up the most of this chart, okay? You're gonna see a large area that says volume carbs. These are gonna be like your leafy greens and veggies that should make up about half of your plate when you are eating. And then there are gonna be the starchy carbs, your low glycemic fruits and higher glycemic fruits. This is a really great resource for you to look at, okay? You wanna stick to the volume carbs and some of the starchy carbs and the lower glycemic fruits. The higher glycemic fruits, those are okay for you to have right after your workout. It's a great option for right after your workout, okay? Let's see. All right, on to protein. So protein needs to make up about 30% of your diet, okay? Protein comes in many forms, most commonly in the form of meat, but you've got your lean proteins, your medium fatty proteins, and then your high fat proteins, okay? So the nuts and bolts on proteins. Essential amino acids are what we get from protein. Why is this important? They cannot be made in the body. You've got to get them from your food. Most foods don't contain all of them. Eggs are like one single food that does. So that's why you've got to pair different things together. And meat, eggs, some dairy products, yogurt, cheese, this is where you're going to get those essential amino acids from. If you're a vegetarian, you can definitely get them from your protein sources. It just takes a little bit more planning and preparing, so you got to be a little more thoughtful about what you're putting together. So sources of protein. Again, peek at that chart in the folder. You're going to see a column for the lean sources of protein. This is where most of your protein should come from, okay? They're the lean meats, fish, things like that don't contain a lot of fat. So as you begin to log your food, you'll notice that when you have ground turkey, there's going to be a lot less fat consumed than when you have ground chuck, okay? Why is it important to eat lean meats as opposed to the higher fat ones? The fat in meat is not the good, healthy fat. It's all right in moderation, but it will lend itself to higher cholesterol and things like that. Medium fats are going to be like your medium fat cheeses, the dark meat chickens, and then any kind of red meat pretty much. Higher fat meats are going to be your full fat dairy, then most red meats, anything that's like pork butt, not pork tenderloin would be okay, bacon, things like that. All right, speaking of fat, we do need fat in our diet, all right? Fat is not bad. It should make up 30%, so you should be taking in the same amount of fat as you are protein. That becomes a little misconstrued because the actual grams of each that you take in will be different. Because fat is a much more calorie-dense food, you won't eat quite as much, but it will still take up 30% of your diet. You want to stick to plant-based sources of fat, and there aren't a million of them out there. You'll see a little piece of that chart. Plenty of options. Those are the ones that you want to stick to. So it's going to be your nuts, your seeds, your nut butters, the oils that you would cook in. You want to limit things like butter, although it is a source of fat, it's not the healthiest source of fat. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to point out to you guys. Another important thing about fat is it's essential for you to metabolize your fat-soluble vitamins. So this is going to be vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. And if you have taken like a health science class, then you know about these vitamins. If not, then they are important for things like your vision, your bone health, your skin health. It helps to prevent cancer and for blood clotting. So these are things that are vital processes in your body, and your nutrition can impact it. So you don't want to overlook this stuff. You want to get healthy sources of fat in. All right. All right, reshape your plate. We're gonna touch back on hydration. So your choice of fluids can make or break you. Your water consumption should not be something that you overlook or don't put some thought into. Proper hydration aids with digestion and weight loss, believe it or not. Adequate fluid is required for your joints to feel good and function properly. The best option to stay hydrated is obviously going to be water. So forget about the Gatorades, the Powerades, the coconut waters, and all of that stuff. It's really not necessary. It's marketing. Yes?
What about the seltzer water?
Seltzer is fine as long as it's not one that has added sugars in it. Some of them, like certain brands, if you were to look at the nutrition label, you'll notice that there are carbohydrates in it because it has some sugar in it. You want to avoid that because it's processed essentially. But things like the Polar brand that everything is zeros. If you look at the nutrition label, it's just carbonated water, so that's fine. Herbal tea is okay. Anything with caffeine is gonna dehydrate you, so you wanna keep that in mind. If you're somebody who doesn't love the taste of water, a way that you can work around that is by infusing it with something. So you can throw some lemon or lime, cucumbers, mint, any kind of fruit really, just so that you are increasing your water intake a little bit. You want to stay away from sodas, juices, sweet tea. There's a lot of sugar that's packed into this stuff, okay? Most juices contain somewhere like 30 to 40 carbs if you were to drink a carton of it, which is crazy, all right? That's something that you drink it, your insulin level is gonna shoot up and then it's gonna drop down afterwards. And your body's not gonna utilize that sugar, so where is it going? It's getting stored as fat, right? So when you're sick, when you have a cold, don't grab the orange juice. You don't need it. It's not going to make you better. Grab some water, maybe eat an orange, all right? But stay away from the sugar. Choose lean cuts of meat. We already touched upon this, but you want to stick to lean meats like chicken, turkey, and fish. When you're cooking, watch out for added fat, okay? If you're going to go ahead and add oil and everything to your veggies as you're sauteing them, that's going to be something you want to account for, all right? Because that can add up pretty quickly. And then just be aware that dairy products do contain a pretty high amount of fat in them. Totally fine to use Greek yogurt and stuff like that. You just want to be aware of what you're taking in when you eat those foods.
So Denise, on that point, the Greek yogurt takes 0%.
Yes. If it's the one that, if it's the Dannon Triple Greek, that one you're talking about?
Like Trader Joe's has like all 0%.
Yes, so that would count as a lean source of protein. I will just say you want to be very wary of nutrition labels. Oftentimes, if you look at a Greek yogurt that is 0%, especially the ones that are flavored, so you want to just be aware, look at the carbs, okay? If they're taking all that fat out, they're adding something in to make it still taste pretty good. So you just don't want to get a lot of processed things in. My advice when it comes to Greek yogurt is to get the plain unflavored and add your own treats in there. And by treats, I mean like fresh berries, some nuts, maybe a little of granola, low sugar granola, because you want to try to avoid the processed stuff, okay? Oftentimes the fruit that comes in those yogurts, it's like very syrupy, so you know there's some kind of sugar in there. All right. Load up on whole foods, your whole grains, fruits, vegetables. You're gonna get a ton of fiber from these foods. And again, fiber helps to slow digestion, right? So we want that in the fruits and vegetables that we're eating. Watch out for the sugar. We talked about this a little bit already. A lot of foods that are marked as healthy or all natural or gluten-free, all these words that people kind of cling on to thinking that it's healthy, they're loaded with sugar, okay? It is hidden everywhere. It's remarkable when you really start to pay attention to it. So begin to pay attention to it. Start looking at your nutrition labels. I couldn't believe it. Breadcrumbs. I had to go to 3 different stores to find breadcrumbs that didn't have added sugar in it. And I was like, why is there sugar in this? Pasta sauce, everything. So you want to start to pay attention to these things as you're buying them. Avoid the processed junk. When you're grocery shopping, stick to the perimeter of the grocery store. There should be like 4 or 5 things you might be getting down the aisles, okay? You want to get the things that are going to go bad if you don't eat them the next 3 or 4 days. Is it challenging to keep up with grocery shopping? Absolutely, but it's much more important to spend the time doing it now than to deal with the repercussions of eating a lot of processed foods years from now, okay? When you're looking at those ingredients labels, you know, I'm sure you've all heard this before. If there's a lot of stuff on there you can't pronounce, or all these kinds of dyes and this, all these lecithins and whatnot, don't buy it, okay? It's just loaded with stuff that's trying to preserve it for longer. There should literally be just a handful of things you need down the aisles. Otherwise, you're sticking to those fresh fruits, veggies, greens, things like that. So the plate method, you may have seen me talk about this in the past or seen a few posts on our social media. It's the easiest way for you guys to think about putting your meals together so that you're getting a good balance of your macronutrients. Half of your plate should be those volume carbs. So we're talking broccoli, asparagus, cauliflower, spinach, pretty much anything that's green, anything that's on that little box of volume carbs on your chart. A quarter of your plate should be your lean meat, all right? And then the other quarter of your plate should be a complex carbohydrate. So carbs are not bad. Remember, they're your body's main source of energy. They should make up 40% of your diet. You want to make sure you're getting some carbs at each and every meal, all right? This is, just to go back quickly, this is a great way to stay on track when you're out at a restaurant as well, okay? If you're somebody who does eat out a lot, my first recommendation would be to try and cut that back. My second would be to think about the plate method when you're ordering. It's easy enough to get a piece of lean meat or fish when you're at a restaurant and ask them to get extra veggies or swap out one of the sides. So definitely this is a way to help you stay on track when you're out to eat. All right, so the meal plans. You can go ahead and grab the meal plans. If you've already been perusing them, that's fine too. So you're gonna notice you have 4 weeks of meal plans there with grocery shopping lists after the week, okay? As you're looking at this, don't let it overwhelm you. This is meant to be a guide, all right? I would say you can pretty much put people into two categories of how they utilize the meal plans. There were the people in the last challenge who followed it to a T because they were like, I just wanted somebody to tell me what to eat and I'll eat it and that's fine. If you're one of those people, by all means, go ahead, follow the meal plans as closely as you would like. If you are somebody who is looking at this and is like, this is overwhelming, how am I gonna prep all of it? Take a deep breath, you don't need to, okay? You are gonna see your day mapped out into breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks, and then your post-workout nutrition. For the course of the challenge, I really encourage you to dial your nutrition into 3 meals a day and 2 snacks and post-workout nutrition. You don't have to eat exactly what is in that box, but it should be pretty close to it, okay? Ideally, you're getting protein, fat, and carbs at every single meal. My recommendation would be to pick 2 or 3 things from the week, prep those foods, and just rotate among them, okay? Rather than making 7 different things and getting really overwhelmed by all of the prep that you need to do, pick a few each week. The breakfasts, you can swap them out as you want. Lunch and dinners can be swapped out. And same thing with the snacks, all right? You're gonna find what works for you, what you like best, and it's totally okay to repeat the same thing and stick with what you like, what you know, and what your family might eat also. So you'll notice there are ranges on the meal plans, okay? So here is the intel on how you figure out where you should be eating. If you're a woman who is looking to lean out, looking to lose weight, you're going to eat on the low range. So if it says 1/2 to 1 cup of oats, you're gonna eat 1/2 cup of oats. If you are a woman who has performance goals, like you signed up for the challenge because you wanna put on muscle mass, you're gonna eat in the middle range. You're also going to eat in the middle range if you are a man who is trying to lose weight and lean out. You're gonna eat on the high range if you are a man who has performance goals, okay? Again, these are ranges. You are gonna have to kind of experiment a little bit. If you are absolutely starving, eating at the low range, give it a couple of days because you are starting a new nutrition program, but definitely let me know if you feel like something's not right, you're definitely not taking in enough or anything like that. You are going to input everything that you're eating into MyFitnessPal, okay? As you, if you're using the meal plans and you're using the recipes from Healthy Steps Nutrition, they are all in MyFitnessPal. Just type in Healthy Steps Nutrition and then the name of the recipe and it's going to come up. Anything that has stars next to it is a recipe that is on the Healthy Steps Nutrition website. We've got a lot of them on our social media, so you can take a look at those. Let me see. All portion sizes on the meal plans are cooked, okay? So you don't have to worry about pre-measuring everything before you do a big meal prep. Let me see.
I have a question.
Yes.
Back to the healthy fats and whatnot.
Yes.
The nut butters. What is the healthiest nut butter? Is it cashew nut butter or is it almond nut butter?
It's whatever you like. Any nut butter is fine.
But not peanut butter.
Peanut butter is totally fine.
Peanut butter too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, so peanuts have gotten a bad rap, the same way eggs have gotten a bad rap. People are like, stay away from legumes. If legumes bother you and cause you inflammation, don't eat them. But there's no reason to stay away from peanut butter if you don't have any problem digesting it. Okay? Question?
So with the half of the vegetables, spinach shrinks down a lot when you're cooking it. Would you do half of it when it's raw, or?
So with something like spinach or really any of your greens, it's going to be very difficult to overeat on those, okay? So if you put like a handful of spinach in your pan and you saute it, it's going to look like the most measly thing. I would say throw extra spinach in there. You can't get too much in, all right? Unless you're on Coumadin or something, don't eat spinach, all right? Yeah.
Over the 80, 80
I'm sorry?
water.
I'm sorry?
You can go above 80 ounces of water.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Excellent. That's what I like to hear, John. So yeah, you can definitely drink more than 80 ounces of water. That's going to be our goal if you're not drinking that much yet, okay? All right, meal prepping. So meal prepping does not have to be a daunting task. Some of you are already doing that, and if what you're doing is working for you, stick with it. If you don't do any meal prep at all, I really encourage you to try over the next couple of weeks, okay? Meal preppers tend to fall in one of two categories. You either have like 21 containers on the counter and you're filling them all up like Meg, and so that you can just grab and go all week long, or you're somebody who likes to make a pot of chili or make a big batch of rice and a bunch of veggies so that you can kind of scoop it out and go throughout the week. There's no right or wrong here. It's whatever is going to work for you, okay? Meal prep's not supposed to add stress to your life. It's supposed to make it easier. So pick what works for you. Again, my recommendation is to make a couple of things. Have something prepped for breakfast, something you can bring for lunch, and something that you can heat up for dinner at least a couple of nights, because we all know that the evenings get busy and that's when bad decisions happen, okay? The 3 compartment containers that you have, there are a wide variety of these. You can get glass ones, you can find all different kinds of things on Amazon, but these are a great tool for your meal prep, especially when you are doing the grab and go or packing your lunch. The reason being, it models the plate method that we just spoke about. That big portion should be all of your veggies, your leafy greens, okay? Then the 2 smaller portions, you've got one for your lean meat and one for your carbohydrates. So utilize that. If you don't mind having the same thing, then have the same thing every day. Stick with what works for you, okay? And my favorites I put up here are the pulled chicken that is probably in week 1 of your meal plans. It's my absolute favorite. It's a staple. I make it every single week. It takes me 10 minutes to prep, and then it's in the crock pot and done. Everybody likes it. The meatloaf muffins are great, the 4-ingredient protein pancakes, and the blueberry protein muffins. So these are things that I make at some point every week just about. And you're gonna find which things you find easiest, what things that your kids like too, and you're just gonna keep making the same thing over and over. All right, consistency. So we talked about this a bit at the beginning. You wanna eat about every 3 hours, to avoid overeating when you eventually do, and also to keep your blood sugar stable throughout the day. We want to avoid the highs and lows, okay? You've all experienced that hanger situation. What do you think is going on with your blood sugar? It's like down here. So then you see something, you grab it, you just shovel it in, and then you're feeling a little bit better. Depending on what your choice was, that good mood might be short-lived, right? So you always want to pair a protein and a carbohydrate in every meal and snack. So when you go to grab a snack, you want to get a little bit of protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, and a little bit of healthy fat. It should almost model like a very mini meal, all right? So gone are the days of just grabbing your almonds or just having an apple, because it's not going to be metabolized in the most effective way if you eat one of these things by themselves. It says set a timer if you forget. So I literally have clients that put a reminder in their phone to eat. I've never forgotten to eat, ever, I don't think. There have been times I've been too busy to eat, but there are people who forget to eat. So if you're one of them, set a timer in your phone the same way you would if you had to take a medication or if you had to leave at a certain time, okay? Not a morning person. So the reason I put this up here, there are several of you who work out at 5 and 6 a.m. And myself included, in years past, I would never eat coming to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. I would just go work out first thing, and then I would do my post-workout nutrition and get breakfast in. You want to get something into the system, okay? I posted about this yesterday. It's really important to have some kind of fuel in your belly, and you want that to be protein and carbohydrates. The reason being, A, it's going to give you fuel to get you through your workout so that you can put as much intensity as possible into it, and B, it's going to prevent your muscles from your body from breaking down muscle for energy, okay? So we don't want to come in here and leave weaker than we started, right? You've got to put the right fuel into the system to prevent that from happening. So nobody wants to have something big before they come in. So a few great options if you're working out first thing in the morning would be to just have a little bit of your post-workout protein and something like an applesauce or a little bit of a smoothie. You don't have to have a lot, just something in there, okay? Fuel for fires are awesome. I've literally had those while the coach is talking sometimes if it's been a really long time before since I've eaten. Things that aren't going to sit in your stomach. Liquids digest faster than food, so that's why I'm suggesting things such as this. A little bit of Greek yogurt is fine. You want to avoid any high-fat food right before you work out and after you work out. I do want to point out, I see a lot of people finishing their workout and running to the Fit Aid fridge and getting a Perfect Bar. Perfect Bars are great to use as snacks or as part of a meal replacement, but there's a super high fat content. It is not what you want to be eating post-workout, okay? It's going to sit in your stomach like a rock. Your body's not using that for energy. It's going to end up storing it as fat. Save that for later in the day. On the road, traveling. A lot of people are traveling. You guys have kids that have sporting events all day long, or you're gone for several hours on end. Pack snacks. Don't leave the house unprepared, okay? Bring a lunchbox. Make sure you've got some essentials with you so that you don't end up going for 7 hours without eating or forced to swing by a fast food place to get something. Hydration, we've talked about this. I think I've made my point that you should drink lots of water. Alcohol, it's always a question people want to ask about. So alcohol is something that's not going to support your goals, whether you're trying to put muscle on or lose weight, okay? You want to be mindful of what you're drinking and what you're mixing in your drink. So if you're getting a frozen drink or a mixed cocktail, these can be loaded with sugar. It can have upwards of like 18 teaspoons of sugar in it. So something to be wary of. The closer you stick to your meal plan, obviously the better your results are going to be. And there's really not room for alcohol in the meal plans. I'm not going to be a total Debbie Downer and say you need to cut all alcohol out. I just want you guys to be aware of the role it's going to have in your goals and achieving them. It's going to increase your recovery time and decrease your body's ability to synthesize new muscle. All right, so think about that. You're not going to recover as well, and you're not going to be building muscle. Something to think about if your goal is performance related. If you are going to drink, try to stick with 1 glass of wine or a light beer or a spirit. Mix it with club soda if you're mixing it with something. And if you're having more than one, definitely make sure you're getting water in